Welcome, everybody. You know, it is the best time to be a football fan right now. Think about it. It's getting colder out, nobody wants to go anywhere. So you get to get a soda, a beer, sit on the couch, and watch your favorite bowl games. Like the Armed Forces Bowl, or the Rose Bowl, or my personal favorite, the Pop Tart Bowl. But you know what even covers that? What's even better than that? Playoffs. Playoff football is the gift that keeps on giving every year. And we are back at that time. A little sooner than we expect than usual. But we are here. And we're going to go over these playoff games and we're going to talk about them, predict them. I'll predict the first round and then I'll predict what my whole prediction is going to be. A couple other things to talk about here on the show or on the podcast video. I don't even know what the fuck I'm calling it anymore. Um, Give a shout out. I'm like a week late, but shout out to Navy beating Army. Rivalry game. I love watching those every year. Um, it's weird seeing them see high scoring games though. Um, Congratulations to Memphis defeating West Virginia Tuesday night, and then tonight in the LA Bowl, UNLV beats California 24-13. Um, and then new head coach Dan Mullen was there, so that was pretty cool to see. But now we get into playoffs. Friday, Indiana versus Notre Dame. Both these teams have had. Well, Notre Dame, I feel like not many people are talking about them enough. Like, of course, the one loss to Northern Illinois earlier in the year, that hurt them. But they've gotten so much better, so much improved since then. And then you got Indiana. Not many people expected them to even be in a rise this year. They've beaten the teams that they're supposed to beat. They've had their big test against Ohio State. We've seen how that went. Mistakes in the run game and then mistakes in the pass game. Boom, it just kept mistake after mistake after mistake, and then Ohio State was able to take over and win the game. Now, if we see that Indiana against Notre Dame and what is supposed to be cold weather, potentially snow, I don't know. It's gonna be very interesting. They're both between both colleges, like 190 miles to even travel, so it's gonna be a very interesting game. I do think Indiana will lose by like a very few margin. It won't be a big blowout. It'll be a really short game. If it goes based off the snow and the cold and all that, I think it's going to be a very short scoring game. And they're going to have to rely on the run games. And I think Notre Dame can stop Indiana. And even I think Indiana will have a shot, though. But I think Notre Dame knocks them off right in the first round. Now, I'm getting to these other games. SMU versus Penn State. A very interesting matchup in this whole playoff tournament. Everyone, after SMU lost to Clemson, I honestly thought Alabama was going to take that spot. But I'm surprised they kept SMU in the hunt. I like that they kept them in the hunt. Now that they have to play Penn State, they're still trying to prove that they can win in a big game situation. And I feel like that's been the main thing for James Franklin for many years now, is his record against top 25 teams and record versus top 5 teams, or the top 5 teams. So we're going to have to see something, and we're going to have to see something from Drew Aller. there's talent there, but we gotta see it prime time. Boom, right in the playoffs. Um, for SMU, I think SMU has a very good team. They're averaging 39 points per game. They're only allowing 19. Um, but Penn State, they're getting they're points allowed are only 13. Um, SMU is, I don't really know how to put it, but SMU is a dark horse team in my opinion coming into this. They haven't had like a very big wins, but I feel like they can compete, and they have that hungriness trying to win. Um, and I think that's gonna hit them right now with when they play Penn State. And I think SMU will go in, beat Penn State, upset in my opinion. A lot of people think of it as an upset, but I think Penn State crumbles, and SMU is just the more hungrier team, and the curse for Penn State lives on, I guess. Clemson versus Texas. This is another really good game. Going to be able to watch Quinn Ewers, Cade Klubnik, both quarterback battle. Um, Texas still trying to get that big win. Their two losses that came from Georgia in the playoff, or in the week 8, I think, and in the conference championship. Texas, their team, like the way their schedule has been this year, like they haven't had a really huge win on anybody. Like they've beaten Oklahoma when they were ranked, but they destroyed them, and we see what happened after that. They beat Vanderbilt when they were ranked. They're not ranked anymore, obviously, but and then you go into, later in the season, their biggest win was to Texas A&M, and that was final regular season game. And they've had their two big tests against Georgia, and I think they have to go through another big test in Clemson. I think Clemson is, from what happened in week 1 to now, Clemson looks very solid. And I'm very excited to see what they can do here in the playoffs. Now it comes down to it. I think Texas somehow might pull it off. But if I'm going to be honest, I think I'm going to have to go with Texas on this one. Or, no. I'm going to go Clemson. Clemson takes some upset. In a lot of people's eyes, they would think that's an upset. But I think Clemson will take down Texas. And then, one of my favorite games of the weekend, Tennessee versus Ohio State. The quarterback for Tennessee, Nico Lamanaliva, I think that's how you pronounce it. Dylan Sampson has had a very good season. And seeing Ohio State right now, Will Howard, Jeremiah Smith, Quentin Jukins, Trayvon Henderson, Emeka Ibuka, seeing that roster, you would think that they should be a lock-in for championship. Now, I don't think Ohio State is going to beat Tennessee. Let's be honest here. We've seen what happened when they played Oregon. They had a chance against Oregon. Then they go out and then they lose to Michigan. and to have that embarrassing finish on how it ended afterwards. Um, I don't think they have the capability to keep up with a team like Tennessee. I don't think. And even if they did, I think the offense would still somehow put up 50. So that's gonna be fun to watch. I have Tennessee winning. And then looking deeper into this, so which means the next round would be Tennessee versus Oregon, and that would be another good matchup. Um, Oregon has proved to be the best team in college football, undefeated. There's been times where we've thought where they've been gonna get knocked down. They've came back and won. They've won the close ones. They've won the games where you need to clutch up and win. And they got their first big test in Tennessee. Well, not big test, but a first, a team that's not in the Big Ten type of test for them. Um, and I think Oregon will win, but I think it's gonna be a very close one. I think Tennessee's gonna keep up with them, and then I think Georgia Oregon will come out and they will finish it off and finish the job. Um, Clemson versus Arizona State would be the next playoff game. Um, Clemson going off a big win, in my opinion, over Texas. I think they'll go into face Arizona State. Bam Scatabo, what should have been one of the Heisman favorites. I'll get into that here in a little bit. He's gonna have I think he's gonna have a phenomenal day. I think Clemson is gonna be the one that comes out on top, mainly because I think they have the more built, well-rounded, veterans on that team. Arizona State, I think they'll keep a fight up with them, but anything outside of that, I don't think they really could have a shot at winning it against them. So Clemson and Oregon would meet in the semifinals. Going over to the other side, Notre Dame. I had Notre Dame beating Indiana, so Notre Dame would go in and play Georgia, and who knows what's the situation with Carson Beck and his arm. Gunnar Stockton potentially available. We've seen what he did in that conference championship game. I thought he was decent. I don't know if it's gonna be able to get them through their championship, but if he's playing Notre Dame, I think Notre Dame's gonna win. I think Notre Dame they'll crumble them up, and they'll get into a hungry spot to where they're like they can get this championship. But I've had this feeling. You're great when you have a feeling for, like when I watch Tom Brady, he could play mediocre at the end of the season or play not well in the season. But the next thing you know, playoffs come around. Boom. He locks in. Looks freaking phenomenal. Mahomes. These last 2 years it's been, I don't know if he's going to be able to get in, win a championship. And then boom, playoffs hit. Boom, you can't doubt him in the playoffs. I'm starting to feel that way with Kirby Smart. It's like when you feel like that Georgia's out, Georgia always somehow finds a way to come back. Now, if Gunnar Stockton does start, I do think there's a shot where Georgia does beat Notre Dame. But looking at Notre Dame right now, like they have this first battle against Indiana in the snow, then boom, they have to go on and play Georgia, knowing that there could be a potential backup quarterback starting. It gets them more hungrier. um, ready to go, and I think Notre Dame will beat Georgia. And then SMU, I had beating Penn State, which means they would play Boise State in the second round of the college football playoffs, and I think Boise State will win that one. um, even though people just say they only have Ashton Genty, they have somewhat of a pass game. The pass game is good when it needs to be. Um, but there has been no team in college football that has been able to stop Ashton Genty. Not even the number one ranked Oregon has been able to stop him. They beat him, but you look at that stat line, man, he whooped their ass. Ashton Genty whooped them most of the game. Hell, you even watched the game. He was there. Um, and I don't think SMU is going to be able to stop that. If Oregon can't, I don't see any way SMU can't. So in these final four, we would have Oregon, Clemson in the semifinal, and then it would be Notre Dame and Boise State in the semifinal. And now this is where we get into a toss-up. Oregon, Clemson. Both really good teams. Oregon has really good, solid defense. And Clemson's offense has been very solid this year. I think Oregon will come up with the win. I think they're going to somehow find a way, and Dan Lanning's going to be able to get their way into the championship. And over there for Boise State versus Notre Dame, I think Notre Dame will win. I think Ashton Genty will have a really good day on the ground. But when you look at the both squads, Notre Dame's team, the way they've been able to shut down these other teams that have been ranked this year, like when they had to play Army, boom, they beat them 52-14, and then when they had to play Army, they beat the similar score. When they go and they're gonna have to play Boise State, I feel like Notre Dame is maybe that one team that could stop them, but I doubt it. But I do know Notre Dame will probably score big on them, and that's what's going to be the falling point. Is that at some point Ashton Genty's not going to be able to do everything on his own, and they're going to have to do something, and that's when you have to rely on your pass game. So Notre Dame, Oregon, national championship. I've been thinking about this one. I honestly think if you put both teams there right now into a game, I think Notre Dame would win by a slight chance. But Oregon has been able to do everything this year. They've been able to get out of every situation when they needed the offense to step up. They've been able to win these close games. Notre Dame has been a very solid team this year, and then that one loss to NIU, even though some people bring it up, I honestly sometimes forget about it because it was like that long ago. But Notre Dame, I think Notre Dame will beat Oregon, and they will get themselves in to a national championship. Because if you look at this team, like boom, week 1 they take Texas A&M, and Texas A&M being an alright team, nothing really special. Marcel Reed, good by the way. And then they had that loss to NIU. And then they beat Purdue 66-7, 28-3, 31-24, 49-7, 31-13, 51. Oh, and 31-13 was to a Georgia Tech team that put Georgia into 8 overtimes, by the way. Um, and then Notre Dame destroys Navy 51-14, 52-3, 35, 14, 49, 14, and then 49-35. So Notre Dame is going to be able to score a lot of points. My main thing is if Oregon can keep up with that. The Big Ten title game proved that they could probably keep up with them, but at the end, it's which team's gonna crumble first. Like who's gonna make that first mistake. And Oregon's gotten lucky on some of their big wins. Like with Ohio State, very lucky on that one, and also part of Ohio State having their hiccups. And then we get closer into the end of the year. Oregon, they had a scare against Wisconsin. So they've been in close ones. So I think Notre Dame will be your national champions for 2024. Boom, big headline. Now on to other news. Ashton Genty, Travis Hunter, Heisman race has been official. Travis Hunter is your Heisman Trophy winner for 2024. As much as I don't agree to it, I can see why they did, and some of the reasonings of why they gave Travis Hunter the Heisman to me is kind of stupid. Like, for one, I've seen one person say how if anyone thought that the college football committee was going to give a Heisman to a team or to a player that's part of the Mountain West Conference, you'd be silly. Now, I have a problem with that already because even with the Mountain West, so still even with being the Mountain West, and saying that the competition isn't like SEC level big, Ashton Genty still dominated every game he had a schedule on. Where was on the punting schedule, he dominated. Even against the number one Oregon team, he dominated. He leads in almost every rushing stat. And Travis Hunter doesn't lead in any stat. Like, even though, yes, he's a two-way player, and even if we're never ever going to see it again, people are going to try to reinvent those. Or going to try to reinvent that. And who knows? Someday we will probably get another Travis Hunter. I doubt it. And he's had a phenomenal season too. But you can't take away that Ashton Genty's about to break some records. It's about to stay in the record books for years to come. Potentially. So, even after, the arguments and everything, I still think Ashton Genty should have won the Heisman. And then going into our last few pieces here to talk about, Bill Belichick signs a 5-year contract with North Carolina. One of the most unexpected things I've seen. Like, Bill Belichick coaching, I would have never seen that happen. Again, like at a college level. NFL level, maybe. But I can't wait to see what he's going to do. He looks a lot more happier wanting to come in, coach, and trade it more of, it's a pathway to get to the NFL. Like, this is how the NFL runs it. So, it's going to build the team up really well just by doing that. And Bill Belichick, knowing how to arrange players. Like, there's been players on the team that Julian Edelman, he played quarterback in college. He was able to go to receiver. Like, if there's positions that need to be made and everything, he will find the position for him and he will get them out. And make sure that they're in the right position of play. So it's going to be fun seeing Bill Belichick coach again. And then going in, and I was just thinking about this, and I should have said something a long time ago, but I was talking about the college football playoffs, but based off these last couple of years with Ryan Day, and then the rumor always throws around this time of year, is if Ohio State should get rid of him. Now, there can be multiple ways you can look at it. You can look at it from Ohio State standpoint, and you can see it from a regular football standpoint. Regular football standpoint, it's like this. They've been able to be ranked every year. They've been able to fight their way into a playoff spot or try to get into that Big Ten championship game. Even though they haven't in the last couple of years, they've been able to stay in there, stay ranked, try to fight for that big spot. So, I think, Ohio State looks at that and they're like, well, not really going to get rid of a guy that's keep giving us consistency of good records. Like, and some people are not going to look about who you beat and who you lost to. That's for the people that are more in depth of what we're trying to do and what, look into history of certain coaches, and like with James Franklin and his stat lines, they keep getting brought up. You look at it from Ohio State fan standpoint. They've had legacy. They had Urban Meyer for multiple years, and now that they have Ryan Day, and in the fan aspect, I can see why they're upset. Although I could see Ryan Day leaving, I don't see him getting fired though, because of this. Even if he loses in the playoffs, I still don't think he'll get fired. And he will help some team in the NFL will try to fucking hire him anyway. Probably the Raiders. They seem to make a lot of bad coaching decision hires. I'll talk about that in another video. So this is all I got for y'all today. I will get college review or playoff review after this weekend. So have a good one. Stay safe. Have a happy holidays. Peace.